channeling is the art of receiving information from spirit through your inner psychic senses. It's basically what happens when you take listening to your own internal spiritual guidance to the next level, and it's something that anyone can learn to do. When it comes to channeling, there's a perspective from which it can be said that the source of all channeling is the same. It is source consciousness. This is the same as saying that we are ultimately all one. We are all expressions of a singular consciousness that is the only thing in existence. And we are infinitely expressed. That's what creation is. In terms of religion, you are God, we are God. We are all embodiments of the one consciousness. Because you need to understand that to understand what channeling is and how and why it can work. Because the basis of all realities is consciousness. Physicality arises from consciousness, not the other way around. Now, when I started channeling, I had no idea what it was. And at first, it just felt like I was communicating with my own imagination. It felt like a kind of new level of creativity within me. But then it quickly evolved when I got brave enough to ask, what is the nature of time? And I promptly received a detailed answer. And this is when I came to understand something else was happening here. Something that was coming from beyond me, or at least beyond what I was conscious of. Now, thankfully, I didn't have to wait too long before I learned what channeling was, and that was through the Seth books by Jane Roberts. And she was a spiritual pioneer that started channeling in the 60s, an entity called Seth, who claimed to have lived many lives on Earth. Seth and Jane together produced this incredible body of work that really gave me the foundation that I now stand on. And at some point in her career, Jane made a statement that basically no one else could possibly channel Seth but her. And pretty much everyone took that as gospel, including myself. But jump forward in time to me working as a spiritual teacher and channeling, basically my message just became more and more about oneness. And therefore this idea that I could not channel Seth was a self-imposed limitation, that the evolution of my own understanding of oneness, of wholeness, the interconnectedness of all things, demanded that I break through. I couldn't understand wholeness and still experience myself as at some level disconnected from my spiritual teacher. In short, I could not become whole myself until I realized that Seth, who I also call the universal teacher, those of you that know Abraham, through Esther Hicks, she has said that Abraham is the same universal teacher as Seth. And I had to realize this, that Seth was a part of me. I was a part of Seth, as are you. To whatever degree you wish, you can become connected to the universal teacher. It is universal. It exists within us all. When it comes to this whole topic of channelers and channeling and who's channeling what, it is just so important to understand that whom or whatever any channeler says they're channeling is at the end of the day irrelevant. And that's because it's always about taking what resonates with your own heart and leaving everything else. That should be your only determinant of where you put your focus, with what resonates for you. That should be the determinant, not any label put upon it or claims put upon it as to the source of it. So to begin with this first podcast, we're going to be diving into Seth talking about inner senses, which is all about how to evolve your own psychic and intuitive senses, and if you wish, to learn to channel yourself, as this is what will give you your own direct experiences of the wider spiritual reality that exists beyond our physical senses, our biological senses. And this wider reality, it's not somewhere that Seth or I just want to tell you about. It is somewhere we want to take you, and that is done through developing your inner senses. The main part of developing them is simply coming to recognize that you have them and just starting to use them. They will evolve and develop on their own just through you recognizing and using them. The wider reality is the non-physical state of existence from which we choose to enter into the experience of embodiment. The human experience that we are each within is an experience of evolution, because it occurs within an experience of linear time, which is also to say physical matter, because as science has shown, time-space is one thing. But that said, what we now experience as the acute solidity of physical matter and the unalterable flow of time started as a far more dreamlike experience. And as such, the human experience can be viewed as an experiential exploration of the limitations of linear time and physical matter, and the experience of individuality, the acute experience of individuality that they give rise to. Source consciousness discovered that within these states of individuality, it could become so mesmerized by time and space that it could get lost in the most amazing experiences of self. What we're talking about here is the creation of the mortal experience, which is where we, as source consciousness, choose to forget our own infinite nature whilst embodied, such that we can have the deepest possible experience of individuality, of self. And what this means is that the illusion of mortality you're currently within is not some mistake. It is not a problem to be solved or something to be escaped. There is no mission to awaken from the illusion. It is what creates the wonder of time and space. A spiritual awakening isn't about escaping the human experience. It is the choice to start playing with the line of consciousness within you whilst embodied that determines how much of the wider state of existence you can remember, that you feel connected to. This is what it is to open your inner senses. It is to become conscious of that which is automatically revealed to us all at death. And this is why there's no mission to do it. There is no mission to awakening. It is inevitable because we will all awaken when we die. So the only reason to start doing it now within this life is because it brings you joy. And what you will come to discover is that is not the only reason to do it. It is the only way to do it. It is the process of coming to joy, because it is to come to remember that you are infinite and you are free. The physical reality we experience is really a dream within source consciousness, and you are the dreamer. We are each the dreamer. We are each source consciousness dreaming our individual dreams, our dreams of individuality. But because there is only one consciousness in existence and everything is therefore connected, so it is that all these dreams of individuality are connected. And that is why we exist in a shared reality. So even though within embodiment we can experience ourselves as more separate than ever, there is still the manifestation of how we are all connected through the fact that you are in a shared reality. And there is great meaning in your individuality. Yourself and its meaning are your spirit's message to you. They are your message to yourself. They are Source Consciousness's message to you. You are a message of love to yourself because you are the wish for experience. And you are choosing your experience because it excites you to choose it. No matter how you may feel about yourself in human form, no matter how distorted or twisted that may become, your spirit is in love with itself. And this is why you must love yourself to know your spirit. And just as your consciousness creates dream worlds you inhabit every night as you lay in bed sleeping, so too is your consciousness creating your human experience through your perception of it. Your perception of the world creates the world. And to come to know this is to become a conscious creator who focuses on creating with their passion, as opposed to being an unconscious creator whose wounding and anger leads them to focus on their fears. This wider self, your spirit, it is the infinite self, because it is the dreamer. And the only limit to any dream is your imagination. You are in constant receipt of a flow of energy from your spirit. Opening your inner senses is about becoming aware of this flow of information within you, such that it is experienced as this most loving guidance. So there's nothing you need to go out and find. There's no puzzle to be solved. To become aware of your spirit is to be guided by it. Because the more aware of it you become, the more you will start to perceive as it does. And when you see as it does, then your choices will be clear. That is why it feels like following your own guidance, your own inner senses. The information you will naturally receive is the information that clarifies the choices before you. And when you feel your choices being clarified, you feel guided. And the nature of that guidance, where that guidance comes from, is love. It is the love of your spirit for you. It is your spirit loving itself. This is what developing your inner senses is all about.